Hi, I'm Lindsay with an E from Prince Edward Island, and welcome to Poetry in the Field, where I share some of my favorite poems from some of my favorite places. This morning I am down at our neighborhood pond, and it is downright wintry this morning. The temperatures are below zero. There's this fierce wind blowing through the trees. The sun is bravely trying to peek out from the clouds up there, giving a little bit of warmth to an otherwise very chilly morning. But we're here this morning with St. Patrick. I was inspired for today's poem by some reading I was doing this morning about St. Patrick. And there's a story that tells about how St. Patrick, one holy Saturday in the year 433, lit the Paschal fire on Holy Saturday on a hilltop. And he did this in direct defiance to one of the high kings of Ireland at the time. This high king was holding a festival in which all fires in the land had to be extinguished, except his own, of course, to show his great power and might. But St. Patrick lit the Paschal fire, the Easter fire, anyways. Of course, the high king was not happy, and he summoned St. Patrick to him for what was going to be potentially a very violent showdown. Well, St. Patrick robed himself in white, and he and his companions crossed the countryside to meet this high king. And as they went, they chanted prayers and hymns, calling on God's divine protection. One of the hymns that they were singing as they went is called St. Patrick's Breastplate, or the Lorica. And as they chanted and went across to meet the high king, all this high king saw when he went to find them was a group of deer and a fawn following behind them. And so this poem has also been known as the Deer's Cry. It's a very famous poem, and I'm going to read it for you this morning here. This particular translation of the poem comes from this book, The Celtic Way of Prayer. So, here we go. St. Patrick's Breastplate. For my shield this day, a mighty power, the Holy Trinity, affirming threeness, confessing oneness, in the making of all through love. For my shield this day I call Christ's power in his coming and in his baptizing, Christ's power in his dying on the cross, his arising from the tomb, his ascending, Christ's power in his coming for judgment and ending. For my shield this day I call strong power of the seraphim, with angels obeying and archangels attending, in the glorious company of the holy and risen ones, in the prayers of the fathers, in visions prophetic and commands apostolic, in the annals of witness, in virginal innocence, to the deeds of steadfast men. For my shield this day I call heaven's might, moon's whiteness, fire's glory, lightning's swiftness, wind's wildness, ocean's depth, earth's solidity, rock's immobility. This day I call to me God's strength to direct me, God's power to sustain me, God's wisdom to guide me, God's vision to light me, God's ear to my hearing, God's word to my speaking, God's hand to uphold me, God's pathway before me, God's shield to protect me, God's legions to save me from snares of the demons, from evil enticements, from failings of nature, from one man or many that seek to destroy me, anear or afar. Around me I gather these forces to save my soul and my body from dark powers that assail me, against false prophesyings, against pagan devisings, against heretical lying and false gods all around me, against spells cast by women, by blacksmiths, by druids, against knowledge unlawful that injures the body, that injures the spirit. Be Christ this day my strong protector, against poison and burning, against drowning and wounding, through reward wide and plenty. Christ beside me, Christ before me, Christ behind me, Christ within me, Christ beneath me, Christ above me, Christ to the right of me, Christ to the left of me, Christ in my lying, my sitting, my rising, Christ in heart of all who know me, Christ on tongue of all who meet me, Christ in eye of all who see me, Christ in ear of all who hear me. For my shield this day I call a mighty power, the Holy Trinity, affirming threeness, confessing oneness, in the making of all through love. For to the Lord belongs salvation, and to the Lord belongs salvation, and to Christ belongs salvation. There you have it, a prayer for a very windy morning. I hope you're having a good day wherever you are. Thanks for listening, and join me again next time for another episode of Poetry in the Field.